Welcome to Love and Lattes, the podcast designed for women who are ready to stop settling and start living a life full of authentic love, confidence, and real connection. I'm your host, Victoria, the self-love scientist, speaker, and coach, and I'm here to help you reclaim your power, deepen your relationships, and fall unapologetically in love with yourself. So grab your tea, your latte, or your favorite beverage, and let's get started.
Are you choosing security over true self-love connection and calling it happiness? Because sometimes we work so hard to build the dream life on the outside, but deep down, there's still a void waiting to be filled. And that's exactly the kind of conversation Lindsay and I are having today. Today, I get to connect you with Lindsay. Lindsay is an empowerment and confidence coach who's passionate about helping women rebuild their self-worth, especially after heartbreak, divorce, or the kind of life changes that leave us questioning, what is my place in the world? Or what is even my worth? So let's get into it. Welcome, Lindsay.
Thank you so much, Victoria. I'm so happy to be here and talk to you about this amazing topic.
Right? It sounds,
Yes.
Lindsay and I have both very, very similar journeys when it comes to navigating these voids and distractions and learning about our self-worth. So I'm going to kind of start it with you, Lindsay. Why is it important for a woman to know her self-worth before she goes goes anywhere?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is such a great question because this isn't something that comes natural to most people, just depending on maybe your upbringing or whatnot. It's so important to know who you are first, and who you want to be in the world, before actually, 'cause if you don't, what will happen is you're going to just accept what comes your way, right? And you're not actually getting to choose. And you might not even realize that. And so I think that's really important to know your self-worth, to ask for what you want, and to lean in towards that and pave your own way to that life that's going to create happiness and joy and purpose and all of those things. It's such a like deep foundation that, I feel like needs to be set um, you know, before really allowing yourself to move forward, right? So just knowing who you are inside and your soul's purpose is so big.
Absolutely. I completely agree. But you did use a couple of really big words that I think can be
Oh,
very kind of scary. So let's
oh
talk.
no. Okay.
One is knowing what you want.
Mm,
How do we know what we want when, and you can share a little bit too. Like for me, I thought those many years ago, I thought what I wanted or the way of life was getting married and having the house, the dogs, and starting a family. And then when in reality, that's not what I wanted at all. So,
hmm.
what do you think about?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And I think that I too was the same way because I thought that what I needed to do was so firstly get a degree, get a bachelor's degree, and then let's see, get my full-time professional corporate job, and then get in a relationship, eventually get married, get the house, have the kids, and all of that is societal conditioning. And so it's a process to break that down, right? To actually know what you want. And so it's okay to move through life going in the direction that you think you want, to allow you to learn and grow in those areas, because then it'll show you if it's not aligned. You're like, well, wait a minute. No, I don't want this. And so yeah, I hope that kind of gives a little bit more clarity because I think that when we're young and we just have a lot of things with our environment and our teachers and our friends and our colleagues, like, there's a lot of cloudedness. And so we kind of have to like break through the cloudiness to and through actions, right? Because actions is everything to really help you move towards what you do actually want. And it's okay if you don't initially, right?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because I find that just for some people, even asking, what it is that you want. I know for me, I remember I struggled with that question for a very long time because it was something that in my mind, I was like, I'm not allowed to want things.
Yes, absolutely. That is so true. And same. Absolute same for me. And uh I always wonder too, like, well, I don't even have any passions. So like what does that even look like? And yeah, so I totally can relate wholeheartedly with that. And it is a process to go inward, to know who you are and to really connect, on a deep level internally. So let's see. And so you mentioned like, is there some scary words? Oh, and just not knowing what you want. And I think that we make it a scarier question than it needs to be, because what that really means is move towards what really lights you up, what excites you, and then allow yourself to move towards those things, whatever they are. Whether it's photography, maybe it's horseback riding, maybe it's networking, connecting with others, right? It could be anything, whatever just really fuels you and gives you that energy, move towards that. Add a little bit more of that into your life. Doesn't have to be all of that, right? It's just, let's dabble here, dabble there, right? And then when you actually do it, you'll know potentially if it's something that is aligned with what you truly love.
And do you think when we start to, I really do think that's actually a really refreshing take on that. I think it's just
Mhm.
easy for us to be like, I'm going to go all in. I'll do what I want. And it can be very overstimulating.
Yes.
Do you think by adding these small bits of, these things that we make, like you said, it might be something we want, we don't know yet. Even when it comes to finding these passions, do you find that implementing these small like drips of it helps us connect with our self-worth?
Absolutely. I do think that that will certainly help you connect to your self-worth, because that is going to allow you because you get to choose what you want to do, right? And I think that that's pretty massive, right? And I think too, like, I'm not sure what it is about society, and it's like it's almost like we inherently don't think that we're worthy, and it's like something that we have to eventually remember, down the line, especially if you didn't really have a great upbringing, or maybe like you just experienced some type of trauma, right, growing up, um, and so I know for me, I was especially like very impressionable, and yeah, even asking for what I wanted was really scary because I'd hide a lot too, and be afraid to speak up. So, but yeah, so allowing yourself to do something that you love, will certainly, yeah, inch you towards, that self-worth that you inherently have.
I think that's wonderful. And I do agree with you. I feel like it's kind of a bummer that there is this weird narrative in society that is somehow allowing to dictate your self-worth, especially like as a woman. You're like, well, I'm not working hard enough, or I don't have this dream, this opposed, body for beauty standards, or I'm not married at this age, blah, blah, blah. And it can be so, I think there's a lot of, there's almost too much information and it can feel, you know, we can feel like our worth is dependent on those standards, when in reality, we are the designers for that. We get to dictate and set up these standards for ourselves, which, now that I think about it, these standards, which is connected to our self-worth, can sometimes be a little bit lower than I truly believe we realize. So, what do you
Yeah.
think are some great ways for women to really start setting the bar higher for themselves because they are worth it?
Oh, okay. I think that's a great question, but I really want to go back to what you said about relating your self-worth to like being married or having kids. And I just resonate with that so deeply because uh I I basically didn't get the house. I did get married, but we ended up moving to Australia and then ended up not having the kids. And then we ended up getting separated and so for a long time I was actually battling with my own self-worth because I didn't have kids. And I still don't. I have a fur baby. Um, and so it took me a long time to realize that, I don't have to have kids to be functional in society, right? Like it's not a requirement, but for some reason it was ingrained so far into my subconscious and just inside of me that it was something that I really had to work through and really ask myself, how important is this, And also, this doesn't devalue me just because I don't have children, right? And then um, getting divorced at age of 32, I also like same thing, thought my life was over because I well, I was no longer married, and who would want to, hook up with a 32-year-old? At that point, I thought I was like 50. I don't, it doesn't matter because at any age, it's all just a mindset, right? Um, and so, yeah, working through those things aren't easy. And it's a lot of deep work and like thinking about too, like 10 years from now, will I regret this decision? So well, I wish I would have done something different. And so I think it's important to think about your future and then going backwards from there, right? And then designing your life from there. Because if let's say you don't have kids and you're 50, but you kind of wanted to, but it just never happened. Well, if that's something that you did want, really allowing yourself to receive that too. So I think it's sometimes difficult to receive things too, right? And know that we're worthy of those things. So anyhow, what was the question again, Victoria? Sorry, I went off.
I think, oh, that's what it was. So, and thank you for sharing that, by the way. That was a big,
Absolutely.
and I think it's important for everyone to recognize that these things that happen, just like it's not like we made these choices thinking, yeah, like I think I'll get a divorce later. Like nobody just wakes up and decides that. These things
No.
happening at different points and different times. So yeah, my question was, there seems to be with like these events, like let's say you're going through this, breakup or divorce, and now the way like you said, the way you value yourself is just so low. So how can we start to raise our own standard so that we can feel the worth that, like deep down, like we're all very, very worthy. And I can say that till I'm blue in the face to anyone, but there is going to be some blocks there and some unlearning patterns. But how can we start something that can be more digestible when it comes to that?
Yeah, yeah, that's such a great question. And I'd say that the place to start where it was a pitfall of mine was first of all, allow yourself to feel whatever you need to feel. Um, because there's a reason why you're feeling that way, and your feelings are telling something, right? And it's important to just be in that, you know? Um, And for me, I didn't. I just moved forward and I was like, I'm just going to keep going daily life, you know, get a job, hang out with my friends. But I'm walking through life realizing that there's still something going on inside that just doesn't feel right, doesn't feel good. And I'm like completely lost who I am. And so again, just like recognizing that, creating that awareness, just seeing your patterns. What are you doing? How are you moving through life, right? I think that's number one. Well, technically number two, right? Because you want to feel what you need to feel, um, and then really start to build awareness to, you know, how you're walking through life and your surroundings. Allowing yourself once you're ready to release any negative emotions that might still be living and festering inside of you from, a rock bottom experience. Like for me, it was divorce. Had a lot of resentment there because he had an affair and it was something he said he would never do. And so a lot of pain, hurt, resentment, um, and knowing that you have every right to feel all of those things. There's no wrong feelings, you know? And yeah, anyhow, and then just kind of finding little things to do for you. What gets you excited? What, and I know at that time, there might not be a lot of things that do get you excited, but maybe you could go volunteer at a shelter, like an animal shelter, to go give back, right? To recognize that um, you do have something to offer. Because I know in that moment, sometimes it just doesn't feel like you have anything to offer. But through interactions and through helping or volunteering, and any type of charity, it doesn't matter what it is, right? Just getting out there instead of kind of living up here in your head and letting that grow and fester is only going to be potentially toxic, you know. I would say journaling too, to allow yourself to get out any deep-seated things that might potentially be in there. And it'll take some time to get out. Honestly, I'm not great at journaling myself, but not gonna lie. But whenever there's some big emotions going on, it's like I have to because there's just too much going on. Even talking to a counselor, there's so many different things that you can do. You know, starting to walk into that self-worth because there's a reason why you don't feel that you're worthy. And so really exploring that first is going to be so important before you can actually move to the next step.
No, those are all really great steps, honestly. And everyone listening, I hope you go back, re-listen and write that down because Lindsay is 100% right. I think personally it was a not the similar kind of circumstance, but just coming out of that divorce, it was so easy for me to become very focused on survival. So I was just like, gotta move, gotta get some jobs, gotta pay the bills, and then I'll have fun later. But even though I was able to incorporate fun and like going out, traveling, I never did sit with it, like fully sit and recognize the emotional, like just it's not necessarily damaging, but the wreckage that this um process was because really whether you're divorced or going through a breakup or you ended a relationship, something like that, it's I don't think humans give themselves that opportunity to even just sit with like, that really hurt. For me, it was a lot of shame because it was like a picture perfect looking relationship, but deep down I was like, I'm drowning. We need to do something different. And
Yeah.
I think it can be very hard for us to, like you said, to feel those feelings. And maybe you feel those feelings through journaling. Maybe you feel those feelings in going through a walk. I think journaling is great. I also have found a really beautiful way to do it, like in deeper yoga poses or just like really deep hip openers. And I'm like, there's a lot of emotion here. I'm going to sit a little bit longer and just the more time we spend with ourselves to, give a little more love to those wounds, I do think that can start incorporating again that rise in our worth and that rise in finding out, I am doing my best and I am worth it and I am loved and quite frankly, any kind of particular affirmation they might be looking for.
Yeah, I love that you brought up yoga because yoga was such an instrumental key to my healing and my growth. So after I got my certification to be a life and success coach, I continued on my healing through this transformation program that was through my yoga studio, and it was 7 or 8 weeks long, and it incorporated yoga, breath work, journaling, and a couple of other things that I felt really allowed. Um, healing, like a well-rounded healing, to not only include my mind, but my body and my soul too. And that also incorporated some inner child work as well. I realized my inner child had been hiding for a really long time. She was scared, and so that allowed me to, um, al- I guess, allow my body to be a safe zone. Because in the past, like my nervous system was so out of whack, and a lot of times, when these situations happen like divorce or breakup, or these high emotion things, our nervous, like you said, we're just in survival mode, and it's that fight or flight or fawn, or there's one more. And, um, and so creating that space to calm the nervous system, to allow our bodies to be a safe space, right? And to get out of our head and actually embody ourselves and step into that is so huge. And it was so, like I said, instrumental for my healing. And so that's actually where I first told myself that I love myself, was during yoga. Um, and I actually was able to receive it. Because I know, how sometimes they tell you to look in the mirror and tell yourself all these affirmations, and if you don't feel worthy, you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, why do I look like that? It's like it's not it's I think it's being on the mat, there's a different vibe, and the movements and the focus, and it's a totally different feel. And honestly, I used to hate yoga. I did yoga in my mid-20s, and I thought it was the most boring thing ever. And then I revisited it like a decade later, and it changed my life. It's part of, yeah, a big piece. So I'm so glad you brought that up.
Oh, absolutely. I used to teach it a lot, and then I went through the teaching program and got certified, and that's when I learned the real superpower behind surrender and being soft with yourself. And just
Yes.
again, I think what really stuck out from our conversation has been like really feeling into those feelings, because I know for a lot of us, feeling into our feelings means to be vulnerable. And like, we may have grown up with that idea of like, don't be soft. Like that's what makes you weak. When in reality, it's like, but this is what your body needs to do right now. Um, it's funny that you did mention the mirror though, because I swear in that same training, I one of the things was to practice self-compassion with yourself, and it was to say I love you in the mirror. And I remember standing in front of the mirror because I was like, I have to do this assignment now. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I would say, I love you. And the first time I did it, I laughed and then I started sobbing, like uncontrollable sobs. And I was like, oh my God, because we say it to everybody, but we never turn it back. And that can be
No.
a very big moment. So it's something I do like share with clients all the time. I'm like, I want you to practice this. And they'll just look at me like, that sounds silly. I'm like, I know, I am aware, but hear me out, do it. Or even on the mat, like you said, just learning to be soft or holding the pose a little bit longer and receiving that love or that compassion. It's just, it's absolutely transformative.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah, it's a great thing. And I totally agree. Like, I've certainly done affirmations, looked in myself in the eye, and I think that's a really great exercise to do for sure. Although I know that sometimes when I'm feeling down and I look at myself in the mirror, that's when I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this.
And that's okay. You don't want to, I would definitely say we should not, like, don't fake it, because you can tell your
Yes.
body is also very smart. It'll be able to be like, that's so cute.
Yes, that's so true.
So before we wrap up the conversation, is there anything you would love our listeners to know when it comes to journeying through any kind of, maybe it is a change in relationship, or maybe it's just maybe they're moving or experiencing these lower levels of self-worth?
Oh, so much. So much. Let's see. I would just say that I feel you. I've been there. And it's growth is not a linear path. And self-worth isn't always easy to come by. And it's something that it's first of all, if you recognize that you don't have that self-worth, because I know I didn't even know what it was for the longest time. And I want you to know that if you don't know what that is and what that truly means and how to embody that worthiness, that is okay. To continue to choose you, to do things for you, that's not selfish. That is important for your own well-being. And also, let's see, I'm trying to think. What else? Because there's just so many points that because again, like I just learned the word worthy maybe not even but a couple years ago. And I'm like, and I feel like I'm, let's see, about 6, 7 years into my healing journey. And so it's something that will allow you to truly choose you. And I want you to give yourself grace and love and compassion um, throughout life. And if you need to forgive yourself for something, then to explore that as well, because I know that sometimes it can be hard to forgive. And that's maybe where like the shame and the guilt and all those things come from, right? Knowing that you are human and that you can be better tomorrow um, is is a choice. And if you need love and support or anything like that, really reach out to your support system. Um, you know, Victoria, myself, like we want to cheer you on, we want to build you up, and really help you to walk that path. We've obviously both walked that path, and so we're shining the light to show you which way to go and what to do. And um, yeah,
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for being on the Love and Lattes podcast. I found our
absolutely.
conversation to be just so inspiring, and I really appreciate the authenticity that this is, you said it earlier, like this is, still an ongoing process. We have these dips, and then it's like, oh, just don't forget that you're worthy, and dip into those things that cultivate your passion. And so,
Right.
yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
no, exactly. Thank you so much, Victoria. I love talking about this, and I one of my goals, I want everyone to know that they're worthy, and that they have an inherent worthiness. And yeah, I just oh, I was gonna say if I can throw out a book recommendation.
Yes, we were here for the
Okay, we might have talked about this actually, Victoria, previously, but you might have already told this to your people. But I absolutely love Untamed by Glennon Doyle. Such a phenomenal book about kind of her even going into her own, and really, that will really help to bring home like that worthiness and what it truly means and how to live it. And I feel like she does a great job of sharing that vulnerably through her own story.
Amazing. I love a good book reference. And I'm going to have Lindsay's information, the book as well, and any additional resources in the show notes today. And thank you all for tuning into another episode of Love and Lattes, and we'll see you in the next one.
Awesome. Thank you, Victoria.